Hello, guys. Welcome. Good evening. This is once again our collaboration with Vodar for another webinar this evening. I hope you all found us well. My name is Yanis. Some of you may have seen me from the previous webinar. I'm the media manager at Tennis Europe. So just again, want to take this opportunity to thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and thank Karina and Radinella. As you can see, Karina as the CEO and Radinella COO and co-founders of Vodar. We've been partners now since April. We had a big campaign launch, I think, in summer over the European Junior Championships. Some people may remember, and a previous webinar in October that was also very successful. So as you guys have seen, the campaign for this current webinar over the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of interest. So again, thank you for joining us. Today, I'm going to hand over very shortly to Karina, who will just talk a little bit about their mental coaching toolbox and offer some techniques and answer some questions that you may have. So again, thank you everybody for joining Tennis Europe and Vodar for tonight's webinar, and I'll hand over to Karina.
Thank you so much, Yanis, and welcome to all of you online tonight with us at another workshop dedicated to junior mental coaching. My name is Karina. I'm one of the founders of Vodar, and my role tonight, together with Radinella, would be to share with you about the philosophy behind Vodar and some practical tools around how to get mental coaching on the court. And I'm going to use this second just real quick to share my screen because we have a lot of good stuff for you tonight. So as Yanis mentioned, we partner with Tennis Europe for a couple of months already. And the reason why is that we actually share a common mission. So together with Radinella tonight, we believe that coaches and parents hold the power to spark global shift in the way we teach children. My role in the company is to bring neuroscience, developmental psychology, and technology into one unified platform, into one company, so that mental coaching can become much more accessible and much more practical. And I'm happy that Radinella also is with us tonight. Radi?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Carrie. Welcome. I'm really happy to see so many people joining our second webinar. As Carrie introduced me, and also Yannick, I'm the co-founder of Vodar. I'm also a mental coach, and also I'm coming from the tennis industry. Used to work for one of the well-recognized tennis management agencies, and have been part of the team of Dani Medvedev, Onža Borlina Svitolina. And during these years, had the chance to witness firsthand the impact of mental coaching, both on players and coaches. And I would also say on parents as well, because when we raise mentally tough children, mentally stable children who are focused, determined, and we also feel fulfilled as parents. Therefore, today we are going to share a lot of practical techniques, exercises, concrete drills with additional layer of mental added into them, so you can support your children. And yeah, let's go. Let's dive deep into today's content because there is a lot to share, as Carrie said. Carrie.
Yes, and actually this workshop matters because we saw already that it matters because it's a globally recognized challenge for everyone, basically. For the previous workshop, we had more than 600 participants. For this one, we have over 540 participants registered, and we have people from more than 100 countries, which is incredible because we have the chance to share about what we are building and what we believe in really with the world tonight. So I'm really, really grateful that you spend the time to join this workshop. And those are the highlights that we have for you tonight. We're going to talk about how to embrace the role of mental coaching mentor. So whether you are a parent or a tennis coach, how to make that shift from being in your usual role to being also a mental coaching mentor. We will talk a lot about how to create a psychologically safe training environment because that's the key to have a productive mental coaching and productive growth for children. And we're going to talk about practical pre- and post-match routines that build resilience. Also, we will talk about the communication, so how we talk with our children in order to help them deal with high-pressure situations. You will also receive our workbook, which has numerous different exercises. We're going to mention some of them during the workshop, and we're going to share with you our 1+1 philosophy. This is something that we believe resonates strongly in the tennis community, and I'm curious actually to hear your feedback about that. So our goal for this workshop is to help you to think, talk, and have the right tools for mental coaching. Those are the three key areas, because the whole change in this sphere will happen once we learn how to think in a more healthy, in a more practical way for mental coaching, when we learn how to talk about mental coaching with children and between each other, and of course when we learn how to use the magnificent tools that are out there already. And those are the goals that we have for today's workshop. So, becoming a mental coaching mentor. We start with this and we highlight a few different things that are part of this process of change. So the first one is to change your mindset, to somehow accept the idea that you can be a mental coach in a certain way, even if you don't have any degree in sports psychology or in psychology, because this is something that should happen if you want to be useful for your children, for your players. This is a mindset shift that happens on your end. Then you need to have also a skill set upgrade, so to learn and to develop your own abilities as a coach, as a parent as well, but also to make a commitment to your own growth, because this is the only way for you to being able to help your children with their own challenges. So the whole sphere of psychology and mental coaching should be at least a little bit interesting for you, so you commit to some personal growth in that area. To master your self-awareness, this is because we can only teach our children stuff that we know ourselves, and that's the best way to do it. If we model self-awareness and mental strength, this is what they see. And you know the famous saying, monkey see, monkey do. So this is one way for you to ensure that your children will see a good example of high self-awareness and mental strength in you. Finding your community, you don't have to be alone in this journey. The best way to learn for all of us actually is to have a strong community of people who also explore the same topics, who find new interesting things. And at Vodar, we are trying to build such a community, so you don't have to look for tools and look for knowledge on your own. And now, because tennis is a sparring game, we will not spend the whole evening just talking to you one-sided. We would like to have a little interaction with you. And I'm going to now use the moment to publish 2 different polls. And I'm going to invite you to look on the right side of your screen, and please let me know if you are currently teaching mental skills, but also if you're a parent, a coach, maybe a player, because I'm curious to see how actually what's the crowd that we have here. In a second, you should be able to see the polls on the right side. So we have a couple of seconds delay because of the streaming. And in the meantime, actually, for this workshop, we have about 50-50 parents and coaches. For the previous one, we had more parents, but I'm curious to see what's the crowd right now. So I hope that you can see the polls and you can vote. Actually, let me know in the chat if you see the polls. Do you see the polls? Maybe something is wrong with the polls because I don't see any answers incoming. So we're going to just continue. It happens. And see what we have done for you. So becoming mental coaching mentor, it's not something really complicated. And that's why we talk so openly with people, and we are okay to introduce this topic to people without background in sports psychology, because we definitely don't consider mental coaching something that is in any way related to diagnosing problems or being in a role of a therapist, being in a role of someone who fixes emotions, or becoming over analytical for all the issues that that players might have on the court. But also, being a mental coach is not being in control, being like putting more pressure on the player, or in any case, it's not about prioritizing performance and results over well-being. For us, we believe that to put the well-being of children on the first place is a mandatory thing. I'm sure that maybe the majority of the audience already also shares that. belief, but it's important to know that mental coaching should actually improve the well-being of players, and it should serve them as a way to find even more balanced way of playing tennis, even more healthy mindset, even more healthy beliefs about who they are, how to approach the game, and in general how to develop in this world. So we are all about creating emotional safety. This is a key aspect of being a mental coaching mentor, but also to learn to ask the right questions, because the right questions will direct the focus of children into the right direction, into a more productive and more constructive direction. So this is a key skill that we develop. But also we are teaching them very simple mental habits. We don't have to have a very complex routines and very long-term planning on, I don't know, a millions of things. It's really effective to teach them to be self-reflective, to think, and to somehow explore even the topic of their mentality, of their inner world. So we are trying to give the most simple yet practical advice. So nothing complex here to be dealing with. Also, being a mentor means to model mental strength. This is something that I mentioned already, but it's again the key, because whatever we say to children, sometimes you know they're better than I do probably. Whatever we say, sometimes it might not be really well received, but whatever we do and we show and we demonstrate, that's something that even on a subconscious level, children somehow embrace and they copy this behavior. So being a mental coach actually it means to be a strong, mentally strong person. Also, to continuously educate yourself. This is again about your dedication to stay curious and open to new knowledge on the topic of mental coaching. This is at least how we see it. And if we put the mental coaching into a broader context, there are numerous factors that affect the mental strength of your children, of your players. Of course, everything that happens at home, everything that happens during the training or at the tournament, in general, everything that happens in life. There are many, many situations that we have no control over. Those are external factors, things that just happen. But what we have as a superpower is the opportunity to help children to make the integration of all of these experiences. And actually, mental coaching is exactly that, to find ways to integrate an experience so that it makes sense in the context of children and in a way that is healthy and supporting their development. So basically, to help them make sense of what they feel and what they experience, regardless if it's a good or a bad experience, so that each match, each situation, each training session, everything contributes to their mental development. This is, again, one way to put this, mindset of yours. You have the superpower to help your children to integrate all of these experiences. Integration basically means to teach children perspective. So how to think about things that happened in a way that helps them, that serves them, in a way that doesn't develop limiting beliefs, for example, quite the opposite, develops empowering beliefs. And this is one of the things that we put in our little workbook. We have 6 powerful integration techniques, super simple, that you can use literally tomorrow, so that you help your children to think differently about experiences that happen to them and to teach them perspective. This is one extremely, extremely powerful tool for all children, especially for those in teenage years, maybe between 12 and 16. That's really, really amazing, because in that moment, in that period, they really start to form their identity. They start to think a lot about who they are, not in a very, conscious way, in the way that adults are doing that, but they think about who they are, how they look like, what's going on in their life, and they become more cautious with all of those topics. So that's the ideal period for you to teach them to interpret situations in a way that serves them. So again, another interaction. Probably it won't work. Let's see what happens. So tell me, please, do you see another poll that is asking you which mental coaching tools you are using at the moment? I'll be super, super happy. Nope, polls doesn't work. Okay, good. We continue without the polls. Okay, so I was just curious. You can answer in the chat. I was just curious, actually, if you already use some tools for mental coaching. Do you work with a mental coach? So please let me know in the chat real quick. Do you have any app, any platform, any program that you follow with your children? That would be really, really helpful for me. Just write down a little answer. No apps or whatever you have, or the name of the app. That would be also helpful. But yeah, my question was, because we have a lot of tools that we offer to parents and to coaches, I was just curious, what's the situation and what's the context on your side at this very moment. So we move on with another important aspect of this overall mental coaching context. It's mandatory for coaches and parents to have alignment on 3 key aspects of mental coaching training. So the first one is the goal. So in general, what's the North Star? Do we prepare this player for, becoming a professional tennis player, or we are just aiming to have excellent results so that the child can get a scholarship? Are we just trying to build character with the training sessions on tennis? What is exactly the goal? Parents and coaches should be aligned on that, and that should be a topic that is regularly part of the conversation. We should be aligned also on the principles. So how do we do all of that? And especially what we do under pressure, under exceptional, extraordinary situations. But also we have to use the same or similar tools, because all of these things, so having an alignment on goals, principles, and tools, at the end of the day, creates super, super important prerequisites for effective mental coaching. The first one is clarity for the coach and for the parent, but mostly for the junior athlete. It creates clarity on what is happening. What's the situation? What's the goal? What's the direction? How are we going to get there? And it really helps children to feel that emotional safety also, in a way. Because when the adults in this triangle, in this triad, are aligned, this creates an atmosphere of harmony. This atmosphere of harmony helps children to feel that emotional safety and to actually be more open to learn new things, to grow, and to evolve as people. But also the alignment creates this one unified training system. So you are ensuring yourselves, you are sure that you have a system that will produce results. You reduce the chaos, you reduce the things that happen just on a random principle. You create a unified system that helps you all to achieve a meaningful, tangible results. Having that support system also creates velocity. It creates this momentum where once we have a clear structure that is working and something that literally like ticks like that, we create this velocity. And at the end of the day, this also creates a continuous training process. This is something that we especially put a highlight on, because in Vodar, we believe that all of these elements, what's going on at home, at school, whatever, all of these situations have the potential to be situations that will teach mental skills in some way, if we, the adults, accept to see the situations like that. So we believe that this continuous training process starts at home. It flows into the car ride to the court. It peaks during the training session with the practical tools and drills that we have that combine physical and mental training. So they're really highly, highly practical. And also it gets proper integration after all of that. So this is one continuous training process that actually transforms the whole life into a training environment, but in a good way, without pressure. It just happens naturally once we have alignment between the coach and the parent on that. And so this is why we have this thing called 1+1 philosophy. At some point when we started building Vodar, and later on, after working with hundreds of people and talking to coaches and parents really from all around the world, we realized that the only way to have proper mental coaching is when you have the parent and the coach in one space, so that they use the same language, the same concepts, the same values for the mental coaching. And so they have this alignment, and that unified space for them. We're going to talk about this 1+1 later on even more, because this is a philosophy that also is reflected into our product. But this is just mentioning this for now. So yeah, as I mentioned, each conversation, each situation is an opportunity to shape mental strength, but only if the child feels emotionally safe. And this is how we move on to the next important topic, emotional safety, and how to create that during the training process. It's very simple here. Neuroscience is absolutely clear on that. Brain cannot learn under threat, which means that emotional safety is the only mental state in which children can be open to new skills and new knowledge. The reason for that is very simple. When we are stressed, we have active amygdala. This is the most ancient structure in our brain. This is the fight, flight, or fight mechanism in our brain. And this is, if the amygdala is really active, we have the cortisol and the adrenaline that are high. And it puts us in a state that we are not open to new information. We are trying to survive, which is not at all something that we want. Just give me a second. Ooh. And this is how, if amygdala is very active, the prefrontal cortex shuts down, so no cognitive, highly complex cognitive processes cannot happen. In the other way, when amygdala is calm and we have lower stress levels, this is when dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin are up, and this is the best biochemical state of your brain and of children's brains that you can have, so that you can learn new things. Again, in a very practical way, we put in the workbook a mechanism for you, a self-reflection, actually more than 25 self-reflection questions that you can explore with your children, so that you assess whether your children feel safe in your company, in your communication, or not exactly. So you will find amazing questions that will open maybe 250 more questions to discuss and discussions for you to explore with your children. But this is one way for us to help you reflect on that and see actually whether your children feel safe in your environment. Those questions are both for players, parents, and coaches. So you can sit together with your children or with your players and explore these questions together. So you just have this beautiful reality check on the topic. We will skip that interaction and we move on with the golden rules of emotional safety, which again are explained in more details in the workbook and in many other tools that we share with our community. But basically, to create emotional safety means to regulate the nervous system. So first of all, to find a way for yourself first to regulate your own nervous system and to talk in a calm way with a calm voice and in a way that actually shows that you are calm yourself. Because again, children are really deeply connected emotionally and physiologically even sometimes with parents. So the way you feel, the way your children feel about a certain situation, and sometimes even about themselves. So to regulate your nervous system, it means to observe and to regulate sometimes your breathing, your tone, your body language, to make sure that you demonstrate body language and tone of voice. You project a tone of voice that is supportive, calming, relaxing. This is one way to reduce the stress and help your children to become to actually enter a more calm state themselves. To separate the child from the performance, it means to always talk about and discuss the results in a way that are focused on particular things that happen, but not on the identity of the child. So any words for let's say, for example, that you didn't do a great job, or you are not paying attention. This is again one way for you to switch the focus from the performance, from what happened, to the child itself. When they feel somehow threatened, and when they feel that you attack them as their person, you attack their personality, they will shut down and they will no longer be open to any feedback from you. but also to embrace the idea that mistakes must feel like data. It's not danger, it's actually the most natural thing that happens on the court. And then to also regulate and validate the feelings first and teach second. This is a big topic. This is basically after a very heated emotional situation, after a tournament or whatever, it's better to leave the criticism even sometimes for the next day, and to be sure that you address the emotional state of your children right after the tournament, and then trying to talk about more rational and more practical things, maybe even the next day. To be predictable, not perfect. To be predictable, it means to have kind of same reactions, same calm and supportive reactions after every challenging situation. Because if you are calm in 8 out of 10 situations, but in 2 situations you just explode and you're just out of your mind and you are out of control, the lack of predictability is something that also creates this feeling of not a safe environment for me, for the children. To build small moments, yes, actually to make sure that you build a relationship with your children in the small things that happen before the tournament, after a match, but just make sure that you build your own little world. I'm sure that you're all already doing that, but it's just a nice reminder. Take care of your own mental health. This one is a big one because according to recent studies, actually, surprise, surprise, it's not social media, it's not even what happens at school. It's not, I mean, there is no one single element that affects juniors' mental health as the mental health of their parents. I'll be more than happy to share with you this this research, because also for me it was eye-opening, because I realized that even I thought that social media and pressure at school and some other factors were actually more important than anything else. It turns out that the mental health and the mental state of the parents is the key factor in that. And so in that regard, we have another powerful tool in the workbook for you, which from all the feedback that we got from our parents is really, how to say, it's an amazing tool, because it creates a situation where you can show vulnerability with your children, but also you can have these profound conversations about who you are as a parent, and you can share openly with your children something that, puts you in a little bit of a vulnerable position, but it also creates this opportunity for a deeper connection with your children. So in the beautiful workbook that we have for you, we have this parent mindset mirror, which helps you to explore what are your limiting and empowering beliefs that eventually can affect your children. So again, it's one way for you to have this lovely conversation with your children about mindset. And so, without further ado, we have a lot of practical stuff also for you that Radi will introduce right now. Radi, back to you.
Thanks, Carrie. Thanks. So yes, we are going to talk about how to reduce performance anxiety, which is without any doubt the biggest challenge for junior players. But before jumping into proven techniques on how to reduce this, I want to address the specific challenges faced by players aged 10 to 17 in major tournaments. This is a big topic. And because, as we often say, it takes a village to raise a tennis player, we as parents, coaches, and players should be aligned and should know what are the biggest threats, let's say. So the first one, performance anxiety, meaning the fear of failure or disappointing coaches and parents. The second one, emotional regulation. This is the difficulty managing emotions such as frustration, disappointment, but also excitement. Concentration issues. This is obviously struggling to maintain consistent focus throughout matches. And last but not least, external pressures. So this is the stress caused by expectations set by coaches, parents, and peers. So in order to reduce all of these challenges, and mainly the performance anxiety, a mental prep prior major tournament should begin well in advance. So as a coach, schedule a brief mental skills segment into each week's practice leading up to the event. For example, mark 10 minutes every Monday practice for a mental training activity. It could be goal setting, it could be visualizations, whatever. We shared a lot of these in our previous webinar, so you can find them, but this should be included and it should be marked. And this regularity shows the team that mental skills are actually part of the training and not just an afterthought. So I want to introduce here a 1-month program leading up to a tournament. It's a week-by-week focus. And here the important part is that you should use a phased approach for each week. Therefore, I'm starting with 4 weeks out. Here, conduct a goal-setting session with your players. Have each player write down 1 outcome goal and 2 process-oriented goals for the tournament. Outcome could be reach quarterfinals. Process, maintain positive attitude. And we spoke about this also in our previous webinar, how important it is to actually focus on process-oriented goals versus outcome goals. And make sure these goals are attainable and mostly process focused, as I said, and post these goals somewhere or keep them in their journals if they have one, which I strongly encourage, by the way. Also this week, you could teach 1 new mental skill, visualization basics or whatever thing is important, and have them practice this briefly. 3 weeks out. So here, emphasize practice competition. So organize a practice match to simulate competition, and before it, review their pre-match routine and mental cues. And after that, debrief what mental challenges came up and what worked. And midweek, you can introduce or reinforce another skill, self-talk strategy or a focus game. This should be done in practice. Again, you can find this in our workbook. 2 weeks out. Here, I would say that pressure simulation is the key. Why? Because during drills, keeping score or creating pressure scenarios like, for example, down 30-40 pay the point, and timing the players between point routine is extremely important. So check in on how they handle nerves and remind them of relaxation techniques. If possible, also have them play a set against someone slightly tougher than them, because we know that learning to cope with strong opposition is also very important. And 1 week out, mental polish. What does that mean? So in each practice, do a short visualization of successful tournament experience. Could be group or individual, doesn't matter. And keep the mood a bit. Do a final run through of the game plan and routine. Make sure the players feel comfortable with everything. Encourage them to ask any last questions or express any worries now. And address this calmly. For example, if they say, I'm worried I might double fault a lot, okay, so you might practice a few pressure serves and reinforce their serving routine and remind them that everyone gets nervous serving. And also double check equipment packing, because being prepared equipment wise also reduces stress. And lastly, ensure they get rest. Maybe you could cancel one practice or keep session light. And in our beautiful workbook, as Kari said, you are going to find a lot of practical exercises and mental drills, especially for this 1-month program leading up to a tournament. So the next thing is daily routine in the final week. I really want to focus on that and underline some specific practical tips. So first of all, give the player a simple daily mental homework for the final 5-7 days. And for example, it could be like each night, have them visualize 5 minutes of playing a great match. Remind them to include details and feel confident and happy in the image. Each morning, have them read or repeat their goals and visions, because this keeps their mindset aligned. As I've mentioned, encourage a short journaling or talking exercise. At the end of each day, they can write one thing they did well in practice and one thing to improve tomorrow. And this reflection habit, I would say, builds self-awareness. And also, again, maintain normal bedtime and nutrition. Perhaps the coach or the parent can provide a generic tournament week tips about eating well, sleeping well, since physical well-being affects mental state a lot. And now, last but not least, let's talk briefly about the coach's role on tournament day. And this is also relevant for the parents, by the way. So on the day, the coach and the parent should stick to the plan and remain a calming presence. So avoid any last-minute technical instructions. Instead, use supportive cues like, remember your routine, you've got this. And if coaching is allowed during changeovers, because some junior tournaments allow brief coaching, focus on mental strategic advice rather than stroke changes. For instance, help them stay in the present. Okay, deep breath, focus on one point at a time. You're doing great, keep hustling for every ball. Remind them of any goals if relevant. And also, if they're panicking, maybe guide a quick breathing exercise. Essentially, be their anchor. This is extremely important on the tournament day. And now I wanted to ask you briefly what mental tools are you using for prep before tournaments, but I'm not sure that the polls are working. Maybe Kari can just I don't know, share her thoughts on that. If not, we are going to skip this, and maybe you can write in the chat your answers on what are the most common tools that you're using prior tournament, what works for you and your players.
Yes, unfortunately, the polls are not working for some reason, but yeah, feel free to use the chat to share what are the tools. Actually, we are also curious to know if you spent the time, like if you spent 1 week or 2 weeks or even 4 weeks before a tournament to prepare, because this will also help us to get better understanding of your context. But yeah, today's polls and interaction with you was a little bit limited, let's say. So yeah, we continue with a very beautiful concept that Radi already mentioned. It takes a village to raise a tennis athlete. We really believe that because of 100 different reasons, because we live in a complex world, in a complex time, and because we have to have this alignment between all the adults in this little ecosystem so that children can have the most productive environment in which they can grow. So this is why when we think about how to help the whole community, the whole industry to do that, we think about building an ecosystem, and this is why we will talk a little bit more on the philosophy of 1+1, because we realize that it's not only the players that should do something, it's not only the coach that should do something, it's not only the parent, it's actually all of us, together with the mental coaching mentors like our team at Vodar, together also with Tennis Europe, with the institutions, with the club owners. I mean, it's a really, really big space. So the 1+1 philosophy for us is a very simple one. It's basically how we can bring the coach and the parent into one space so that we learn the same things, we learn the same concepts, we align on the same principles of mental coaching in a way that we create this productive environment for the children. So this is why we have this different levels of possibility of opportunity for you to join our community. So the first one, which is absolutely free and open to everyone, this is our WhatsApp community. Please take a moment now to scan the QR code and join this community, because we have incredible people there already. We are really an international community, an international family. So what we do in WhatsApp, we share powerful tools for free. We share articles. We share sometimes special discounts, or in general interesting things that are on the topic of junior mental coaching. So make sure that you join this community, because this is the best way actually to have this communication with us. But then what we have also, you will see this on the website, we have a pro membership. This is how we call it. The pro membership basically gives you access to, first of all, our mobile app. The mobile app is for coaches, but also parents benefit from it, because we have very well structured and organized training content on mental skills development, which is organized into modules. Every module covers one key mental skill. But also the best thing about the content that we have is that it combines physical and mental training. So the content that you will see on the app basically becomes an integral and very natural part of of the training. And so this is something very helpful for the coaches, because it saves them time. It helps them to plan these sessions upfront. And it's also it's fun. That's the whole thing. We have so many different drills. You, by the way, can see the demo module on our app, so you can get a glimpse on what we are building. Again, it requires no sport psychology for you to use this content. But also, in addition to that, we have another online space, which is called Vodar Mind Labs, where we share additional tools, monthly workshops, again, interesting techniques that you can use with children. We also use this space to share our success stories. And with the pro membership that you can take with Vodar, you can also have individual consultations with the team, which, of course, we know it's a game changer. And now the best part is that this 1+1 means that one pro membership actually equals 2 accounts, one for the parent, one for the coach. We know that sometimes the parent is the more active side, the more proactively looking for solutions on the topic. Sometimes it's the coach. But in any case, one membership gives both people access to what I mentioned, to the mobile app and to Vodar Mind Labs. This is because we know that we have to give you the best knowledge and the best tools, and we have to have this alignment. Otherwise, we're not going to see any productive results in the future. But also, thanks to Tennis Europe and thanks to our little promotion, we have 50% off of this membership. So you can, again, scan this QR code and you'll see the reduced price. For sure, this is the most affordable solution for mental coaching on the market, because we know that for parents, I mean, honestly, I don't want to take more money from you, because I know that already a lot of people and a lot of businesses are trying to do that. So we try to create the most affordable thing. This is basically, if you decide to join the Pro membership, this is everything that you will pay for a whole year of high quality, very practical mental coaching drills and content that will serve both the coach and the parent. And this is the best, how to say, win-win situation that we managed to create. But also because we want to work with people that recognize this content as valuable and as something that will help them in their context. We also provide a full refund guarantee 14 days after the purchase. So you can join, you can have a look, what's the content that we have, what's the philosophy, what are the tools. And then if that's not for you, you can always just text us, send us a simple email, and we'll be more than happy to refund you. This is, again, we appreciate your time and your effort and your energy and your money. So we want to do the best for you. So thank you so much for being part of this workshop. Now we have a lot of time actually for questions and answers. But the final message that we want to leave you with is that at Vodar, we truly believe that children carry stardust in their hearts. And our roles as adults, parents, coaches, mentors, our role and our mission actually is to protect that cosmic spark so that they grow and unfold, so that it unfolds in their brilliant life and they grow as healthy individuals, regardless whether they will choose to pursue a professional career or do something else. So this is our philosophy in a nutshell. And now I'm going to leave the floor and we'll open the floor for questions. Please use the chat to ask anything about the content, about the program, about the membership. And I'm also use this opportunity to switch my camera, because I realized that now you see me through my laptop, I guess. But yeah, please use the chat, and I'm going to scroll back also to some questions previously that we had. So I'm going to give you now a moment to ask some questions. Okay. Let's see if we already have something. Okay. Would there be a record of this webinar? We already answered that one. Great. Okay, maybe we have also a little bit of delay because of the streaming, and at some point, some questions will start to flow. I will actually switch onto this one in case you want to scan. Or we can actually have, you can also share about your challenges that you have with your children. What is the most common challenge or mental skill issue, I'd say, that you see? That will be also really helpful for us to know what's the most recent thing. So please join us in the chat.
Also, I'm curious to know maybe what are you currently doing in terms of mental coaching. I would ask the coaches, but also the parents about this, because I'm really curious to know whether you're using some tools or some kind of, I don't know, methodology.
What I see here is how many users do you have already. So we have about 500 people in the app already. We have about 150 in the WhatsApp group. And this is the amount of people that are around, let's say. We actually recently started. We introduced the app officially this summer, and we started promoting more actively with Tennis Europe. And we are now getting this, hopefully, momentum. And we introduced this topic actually to other federations and to other markets. And this is how we do it. Another question: what is the earliest age for children to start mental training? I think it depends on the goal. If you are aiming at professional career at some point, if that's your ambition, and if the child is also open for that, then the earlier the better. But in any case, whenever you start, if you still don't do nothing on the mental coaching side, it's better.
Yeah, I would say the earliest is like 7 or 8 years old. You can start without any problem implementing some mental coaching in the form of fun, because we need to nurture love for the game and also to keep things fun, because we should also, implement this idea in our children and players that playing tennis is equal to playing to having fun. So yeah, you can start 7, 8, the earliest, but in the form of fun. This is really important to keep this mood.
Yes. I see another question, or it's more not like a question, but what is the most like the biggest challenge? Often dealing with high standards in children. So it's an interesting thing. Is it high standards that children have for themselves? Because sometimes if they have this really high standards for themselves and they are over criticizing themselves, it might be a reflection that, so it might be a sign that they don't feel particularly safe, and they are trying to always overperform and over demonstrate that everything is okay, so that they don't create any frustration or any conflict or any criticism, so that they don't provoke any criticism. That's an interesting thing. So or maybe the high standards that coaches and teachers or maybe the environment has for children. I'd love to hear more, and you please elaborate on that one. Okay. Clubs can access. So in a club with many coaches and players, it might get a bit expensive for each coach to use the app individually. Are you planning a multi-user version that clubs can access with multiple users? Actually, for clubs, we have this special elite program where basically for every club, we try to find the best solution, so the best offer that we can offer them. It depends on the number of players and coaches. But yeah, I mean, if you put it into perspective, the annual membership cost is 20 euro per month for the coach. So it's not it's not so much for the coaches. Alrighty, can you please read some of the questions if you see them?
I can't see them. This is the issue here. Yeah, that's why I'm silent at the moment. Sorry.
I thought you see it. Okay, another question that I see. The question is it necessary to accelerate psychological maturization of the kid, or just let him to become mature by himself? That's a good one. Can you please address that one?
Yeah, I would say that as we talked many times about this, like mental preparation goes hand by hand with the physical, the technical, and the tactical preparation. So basically, if you decide to start early on, as I said, in the form of fun, it's okay to implement. Actually, it's a mandatory to implement mental coaching in parallel with all these other 3 factors. So maybe can you read the question again, because maybe I couldn't understand the question, and I don't know if I answered properly, but I think that basically this is the formula. Just implement mental coaching as early as possible, and do this regularly with the technical, the tactical, and the physical preparation. But Kari, please, yes.
Yeah, the question was, is it necessary to accelerate psychological maturization of the kid, or just let him to become mature by himself? Yeah, that's not that was the question. My little, my point of view here would be, if the acceleration leads to more self-awareness and more healthy self-image of the children, definitely yes. If it leads to more pressure or more self-criticism, so obviously it's not a good idea. So it depends on how this acceleration is done and for what purpose, for what goal. Do you have alignment with the child on the goal, on the purpose of all of that, or you are trying to do it for your own sake? So this is also important. You have to be sure that children are on board, because once you involve them actively in this process of thinking and reflecting on the topic of mental coaching and on the topic of self-development, basically, because maturization probably falls in the context of self-development, then you can see whether you're moving with the right pace, or you are pushing it, or you are being actually overprotective and moving too slow, because this is also an option. But yeah, this is how I would answer. We have other questions here now. How many hours per week a player needs for the mental training? That is also a good one. It depends again on the goal. Ideally, what we recommend for our content is to repeat at least 2, even sometimes 3 times per week, little short drills that we have. But in general, it should follow, again, the natural way of the training process. What we do is we don't change and we don't interfere the coaching process of the coach. We are helping him or her to introduce the topic of mental coaching in a practical way. So we don't insist on having this amount of time per week, because it depends on the goals. If you think that the player needs to address a rather big mental coaching challenges, mental performance challenges, then of course spend more time on that. Even shift for, I don't know, for 3 months, for 6 months, the focus a little bit more on mental coaching, see how that goes, and then go back to the previous routine. Because sometimes even you may experience a temporary issue, something that is related to a temporary context, and you should pay more attention. In some other situations, maybe the kid is performing really well and it needs development in other areas. So it's kind of a flexible thing, but for sure, at least once per week, the topic of mental strength should be part of the conversation and part of a training session.
Yeah, and also depends whether you're preparing for a tournament or whether you're in a regular training season. So this is also a factor to be considered.
Yeah. We have one thing, Radinella, you mentioned keeping it fun, which I don't know if it's a question or just a reminder, Jackie, but yeah, Radi, you can elaborate a little bit on that maybe.
Yeah, because sometimes the pressure comes when, for example, let's put it like in a practical way. 2 days ago, I had a session with a player. He was like 13 years old, and we talked a lot about the pressure that he experiences, especially prior tournaments. And we were talking about whether he still continues liking playing tennis or not. And he said, at the beginning when I started, I was like 6 years old, if I remember correctly. And he said, I was having a lot of fun. And at some point, I was so focused on achieving some goals, specific goals, winning tournaments or winning matches or whatever, that I forgot how to have fun while playing tennis. That's why I'm saying that this is extremely important for the players to have this feeling of having fun, to maybe keep some sessions lighter, to just nurture this love for the game and not just focused on goals. And when I'm saying goals, these outcome goals, meaning winning the match, winning the tournament, be number one. Because like this, we are raising high achievers, which is not a good thing. Of course, it's a great thing, but we should also remind them that they should be having fun while achieving these goals. This was my point.
Yes, and then we have another question. In your experience or opinion, how do we find the balance between children playing and learning problem solving organically versus emphasizing techniques, which implies success? So to find the balance between children playing and learning. It depends on the age, I guess, of the children in some way, but And then the additional comment, solving organically versus emphasizing technique, which implies success. Let me think about it for a moment. Radhi, if you have some ideas, feel free to join.
I'm struggling a bit to understand actually the question in the last part.
Me too. Maybe we can address the first one. How do we find a balance between children playing and learning problem? So how we find a way to teach children certain skills while helping them to keep the fun. Maybe this is somehow related with the previous question. Well, again, it depends on what do we trying to achieve. If the children need to have more fun so they stay in the game for longer and they remain engaged, that is for sure something that we should keep at some point when children grow. So I would say after maybe around the age of 10, 11, 12, we can sit and talk more seriously with them about the development of certain skills and to actually ask for their feedback and their input on how they see themselves in the future. Because if you want to develop certain skills in a very structured and well-organized way, at some point it has to take like a bigger part of the training session compared to before. But this is something, again, that should be at least discussed, maybe with children, so that they feel involved.
If you're talking here about the learning experience from making mistakes, if this is the question, I can give some really practical tips that are related to the post-match debrief, and this is connected with the learning mindset, if I understand the question correctly. But for example, this is really something practical. After each match, you can, doesn't matter win or lose, the coach or the parent could do a short debrief focusing on lessons and positives. You can ask questions like, what did you feel you did mentally well? Was there any moment you felt nervous or lost focus? What did you do then? Like, praise also any use of mental techniques. If the player struggled mentally, you can discuss how this is normal and brainstorm what to try next time. Basically, reinforce the idea that each match is a learning experience, and this reflection helps refine their mental skills moving forward.
I see one. Yeah, thank you. I see one additional comment from Jackie, who's the owner of this question, not the owner, the person who asked the question. That problem solving actually is one word. So how to find the balance between children playing and learning problem solving organically. So problem solving is one word, and that's, I think, deserves another quick answer. Actually, problem solving skills are the best type of skills that you can teach children. When you want to involve them in something, you teach them actually problem solving skills. So every time you decide to not to give them an answer, but ask them a question, not to give them the solution or the strategy, but ask them, what do you do in this situation? How would you approach the situation? This is when you switch from teaching them do this and that to, hey, what would you do in this situation? And this is what activates this problem solving skill, whatever the age or the level of development they have. Okay, we have another few beautiful questions, and we will have to close this session right now. So, how to help a child who hates to lose is one question that also had some votes up for. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. So, how to help a child who hates to lose? It's a big topic, definitely. It's something that is related again to self-image, to what, it's related to perspective again. Definitely what we can't do is we can't help children to feel better after a loss just because they will feel the way that they will feel. But what we can do is to help them to integrate that experience later in a different way so that it doesn't create this like long-term suffering from that loss and long-term negative feelings that they explore. So it's just about changing the perspective and help them to realize that even, I don't know if it's appropriate for your child, but even to give them the statistics of how many points Michael Jordan lost or missed. This is one super famous quote that he has, but also how many points and how many hits the most successful tennis players missed. And to see that loss is part of the journey of a winner. So it's again something.
Yeah, also a lot of coaches that I've been working with during the years send their players to tournaments they know they're going to lose. And this is a great way to teach your players and children that this is part of the game. So this is a proven technique. Just send the players to tournaments that you're aware of that they're going to lose. And with the time, they will learn how to cope with your support, of course, with the loss.
Yeah. And one maybe final question: in what age kids start realizing the importance of effort and discipline in order to be able to achieve their goals? I don't think that there is one answer to that. It could be early on, it could be later on. Actually, they will learn once they have the experience and once they discover that. So once they see for themselves from their own experience that, effort and discipline helped me achieve this. So they have to create this association between effort and result. And of course, try to explain to them in theory, but only once they have a real experience and they see this connection, this is how basically the neural network in their brain, the neural pathway in their brain will be like, okay, those two are connected. So again, you can use these recommendations that we have in the workbook on how to help them integrate all of these experiences. So having a productive conversation after the training, for example, or after a match, and saying, well, do you think that because you put more effort and more time in developing this skill, in improving your serve or improving your backhand, do you think that this was somehow related in some way, in some situation? And if
And
you
how was related?
and how it's related, yeah. And if you leave that question open, then maybe your child will find the correlation. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Guys, I left the the slide with the WhatsApp chat because this is again the fastest way to connect with us, and we will be more than happy to welcome you in our chat because we have plenty of really helpful and science-based tools that we share with the parents and with the coaches, and we'll be very happy to see you all in our chat, and we will send you some good stuff right after this workshop. Tomorrow morning you will receive also the recording from this workshop, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please stay connected with us because we love to share everything that we have for you, because I don't have to probably convince you that it's really important to put effort and to bring really the best tools and the best knowledge that exists out there on the topic of junior mentor coaching. So we'll be more than happy to share everything we know with you. We will have another workshop next year, so in probably January or early February. Make sure to stay tuned with on our communication channels, and we will be happy to welcome you once again. Again, we had the great opportunity to share our ideas with people from more than 100 countries, which is, again, great achievement for us, and we are super happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here today with us. And you can ask those questions, by the way, in the WhatsApp group. So maybe we were not able to answer to all of the questions in the chat, but we can continue answering in the WhatsApp group. So please join. And we hope to see you soon in our next webinar, as Carrie said.
Thank you so much. See you soon, guys.